Welcome back to another Church Conversations. Hey, today is going to be an amazing one. We've got a great friend. His name is Julian Garcia, and he is with Worship and Creative. And we're going to talk about how to cultivate healthy, creative teams, healthy, creative churches. And I think that this is a very important topic because I feel like there's always tension between like the creative teams, the creative side of church, and then like the pastoral, maybe more practical side of church. And I'm excited about this conversation because Julian has a great perspective in that he is a creative. He's got a creative mind. He's a creative person, but he's also been on the other side of the pastoral seat. He's been on both sides, if you want to say, of the fence. For me personally, I feel like that this is something that I've had to learn the hard way on how to relate with creatives and how to just come up with a creative process. So I'm excited today. Hey, if you're watching, if you're joining us, we're excited to have you. Hey, drop a comment, like, and make sure and share this. Sharing is caring. That's what I tell my daughter probably every day. So make sure you share the button. Let's get as many people on here. And as you join on, let us know that you're here. Say hi to someone. Let us know, I don't know, what you're eating for lunch. If you're eating lunch right now, I don't know what time zone or what country that you're in, but we're excited today to have this conversation. So without further ado, if you would go ahead and let's welcome the one and only Julian to the stream. What's up?
What's up, man? The one and only.
What up?
Thank you.
What up? What up? Man, your studio is looking fresh today. I
Thank
love
you.
that green screen kind of car effect.
Isn't that
Um,
amazing?
Yeah, that's impressive. Like I really, I've said this, I've been saying this since the whole since this whole pandemic. And I feel like, well, even with social media, I feel like so many people, they like do videos in their cars.
Yes.
That like I want to create, we need to create some kind of like backdrop for cars where you can just like put it up and it looks like you're like in, your house or a studio or something like
Yes,
that.
the
I mean,
2020.
I feel like that would be practical. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is for sure my studio when I need to go live and get on with somebody because my kids are crazy. I don't have an office. Our house isn't big enough. It doesn't have an office. So I usually work in the front room and the kids are screaming. So it's either that or the loud Starbucks. So I'm going with the quiet car.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely at any point my daughter could just like blast in here and just be like, "Dad, what are you doing?"
At
But
least you have
that's
a
okay.
designated room.
I do. I am blessed I'm blessed to have an office and to have a decent setup. So I'm happy. But so what's going on? Tell us a win for you. What's been going on in your world? I always like to hear from
Man.
the people we have on. I want to celebrate with you. What's a win that's been going on in your life? Something that maybe you want to brag on God about, or if you just want to, maybe you've just been crushing the game lately. Like, tell us
Yeah.
about it. I'm totally down to hear some good brags.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely in a different world these days. I've been in full-time ministry for the past 14 plus years and serving in multiple capacities. But this is since June, we stepped down from the church that we were serving at. And me and my wife both, she was the children's pastor and I was the campus pastor of a pretty large church here in Washington. And, it was just one of those times where we felt like it was our time to be done and we had to move forward. And we did that. And so in that, I was just looking for jobs. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to get a job for a while, just kind of figure it out. Funny thing happened, COVID-19, and I couldn't get a job and nobody was hiring. So I took a huge leap and got an LLC. It's called Jig Echo Services LLC. Jig as in Julian I. Garcia. And basically I do all things marketing, promotion, media, just everything that I'm good at. I was like, okay, what kind of skills do I have? What do I have that I can turn into money? I've always done it for the church, but I've never done it for profit, right? And
Yeah.
so started my LLC and just went full force, just started texting everybody I know and doing email campaigns and getting on LinkedIn for the very first time in my life and just going hard. And God's been so good, bro. Like we got this going. I went from having my salary to nothing, right? and almost like having anxiety, like freaking out, like how I'm going to pay my bills. And then spending a ton of money to get my LLC, and then boom, God is providing. He's giving me jobs. Churches are calling, having me help them out with some stuff, and then also I got some contracts with the military, which is amazing. So they're basically paying my bills, which is amazing. But yeah, just tons and tons of stuff, and it's so funny. No matter how much I try to do work for other people, it always ends up being for the Lord somehow. Whether it's a church, even the military. I'm doing work for the chaplains. The chaplains somehow found me, and I'm doing a ton of work for them. So, yeah. So God is good, man. We've been going hard,
bro.
LLC. My wife became a real estate agent, so if you live in Washington, shout out Brittany Garcia. Let's buy you a house.
I love it, man. Yeah, this has definitely been a crazy season. I think it's been fun, even for both of us, being in kind of a what do I do with my hands, season, and trying to figure things out. And I after being in the same place for 10 years and having to transition and figure stuff out and start a company and get all that stuff. I'm like I felt like I was back in kindergarten. I'm just like Googling everything and asking. I feel like every question I ask is like dumb, and I'm like, I should probably know this by now, but I don't. And I've been so thankful for you and your friendship, and just it's been, I feel like we've kind of like been in the similar, it's like a same but different situation, and working through a lot of this, and it's been fun. And I just, I want to say right off the top, just thank you for all the help that you've done for Free Church Media and Stop Bad Church Graphics, and just supporting. And he's been helping with our Google ads. We got approved for our $10,000 a month, and he's been running it through his software and trying to help me figure that out. Cause it's like, I feel like I'm the media marketing, admin. Like I've just been like, oh my gosh, if I have to do one more thing, I'm going to lose my mind. So I just want to say, thank you for helping me out and helping Free Church Media out and everything with that. And it's been a massive blessing. It's been exciting to watch. Like, I just remember the conversations like early on, we're like, I think I'm just going to start a company. My wife's going to real estate. I don't know what we're, then I feel like we'll talk a little bit. And then I think there was like a couple weeks that went by, and we were both head down, and you were like, dude, I got this contract. We're doing this. And I feel like it was cool to kind of like hear, I could feel maybe the stress or the concern in your voice to like, hey man, I'm good. We're good.
Yeah,
everything's great. Like, and then you're like, how can I help you? And I'm like, please help me. That would be nice. If you could do that. So I'm excited for you, and it's been cool to hear, everything that you've been going through. And so yeah. So, well, let's jump in. Today we're talking about cultivating healthy creative culture. Well, I'll start with this. In your kind of, for you, in your opinion, in your experience and wisdom, kind of what do you, just to give some people some context, like when we say the word creative, kind of give us like your thought theory on like, okay, what does it mean to be a creative, or within the creative in the church, or just a person?
Yeah. Well, I think that the word creative is almost skewed. Like it's almost messed up a little bit, because we have this perception when we say creative, especially in the church, we say creative and you automatically think worship leaders, and you automatically think the production team, or making graphics, or there's this automatic thought process that comes. But I'll be honest with you. I think that the word creative and being creative is inside of every single one of us. Even like, for example, like you're really having to be creative right now with your life, and you're doing Free Church Media, and you've never done anything when it comes to media. You've always been the guy who's like, hey, here's an idea, go make it happen. And they go make it happen, and it comes back and you're like, that's great. But there's a creative, I feel like, and I believe that there's a creative gene inside of every single one of us, because we're created by the greatest creator ever.
Yeah.
And so, and I've noticed that even more when I was a campus pastor. I noticed that even more with people, because like our children's team, for instance, they are the most creative team out there, because they're having to do something for kids to help them understand the vastness of our God. And that is the hardest and most creative job that I've seen. It was amazing, And so I think the creative gene, the being creative is so much further than being someone who can make graphics or being somebody who can make a video or sing or write a song. Like those are creative things, but I think
Yeah.
that we all have a creative gene inside of us. We just don't realize it.
No, I love that. I feel like honestly, for me personally, that was like a revelation that I had. I definitely am not in the sense of creativity of like art and graphics and
Yeah.
like I definitely you don't want me touching that stuff. But I do. I think I've realized that I can be creative. I just know that I need the right people in the room to help me, like actually see like paint the picture
Paint the picture.
if
Yeah.
I if I can if that makes sense. And so that was honestly that's something for me that like once I realized I'm like I am creative, I'm just not the one that's going to be able to draw it or like actually bring it up. And so for me I had to finding people around me that were
Yep.
gifted or creative in that way to make those things happen. And I think that's the and that's what I want to talk about a little bit about today is kind of like maybe sometimes the relationship within a church, a team, maybe it's a senior pastor, a youth pastor, that they have a vision, they have something, and but then on the other side you have someone who is creative, maybe who is artistic, they've got some style. Kind of talk us through that tension, maybe on we can kind of get in some tips and tricks, and because that's something that was definitely hard for me is relating with a like someone who's more that's artistic and when I'm not.
Yeah. No, that is a real battle. In fact, I'm in the middle of producing a video just for fun, um, talking about that relationship and what it feels like to be a graphic designer when your senior pastor has great vision but no direction. Like um,
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest battle for a creative, quote unquote, of what they deal with when it comes to internally. Because
Yeah.
when I was a graphic designer at my last church, I was the lead graphic designer, and that's what I was doing, right? And our pastor was very visionary, very big thinker,
Yeah.
had a lot of ideas, probably couldn't ever put it together the way that I could, but there was always going to be this tension, like, well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. Well, what are you? I would say, well, what are you looking for? Like, what's in your head? Well, I mean, I don't, and there's just like this run around, but they know exactly what they want, but they have no idea how
Yep.
to get there. So
Yep.
it was like, for me, it was so frustrating as a graphic designer to deal with that, because I I would put together these great concepts and great ideas, and a lot of times it was never good enough. It was never, that's not exactly what I'm thinking, or all this kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, and it was so
Oh gosh.
frustrating. But so there's definitely always a lot of tension between, uh, there's both ways. There's tension between the leader who isn't a creative, doesn't know how to create those things or articulate how to put them together, and the graphic designer or the videographer, the person who's actually making it. Because the creative person creating it, right, they usually have preferences and ideas and
Yep.
styles, and those ideas, preferences, and styles maybe not line up with the leadership and the
Yeah.
vision where they're going, right? And so that with that tension, it's so important. Like, it is utmost important to have real conversations with people
Yeah.
who can lead you in the direction, and help you really understand each other and where you're going. I think knowing where your North Star is and where you're going is the most important thing. If you know that, you're going to be able to put everything together and make it work together.
Yeah, and I think for me, being on the other side is I had to learn, like at some level I've got to trust like that creative and that person to do that. Like, okay, it's not exactly what I wanted, but this is like I trust you to to like with this design or the way this video feels or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Um, So let's talk a little bit more on some tips and tricks. I want you to kind of maybe talk to like you talking to me in the sense of like how can someone who is working with a video designer, videographer, graphic designer, whatever it may be, like talk to me about like what are some ways that like I can better communicate, express, try to get what's in my head, in your head. That way you can get it onto a screen or a piece of paper, maybe.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for you, as a leader who's giving direction and where you're going, you have to be clear on your mission and your vision of what you want to communicate. So, for instance, say you're putting together a Halloween event. We're coming up to Halloween, right? Say you're putting on a Halloween event and you need them to create a graphic that represents what the event is about, right? And so if you just go, hey, we're doing a Halloween event, this is the date, this is the time, make it happen. Trust me, they're going to take that and do whatever they want with it, and they're going to go with the typical Halloween stuff, and they're going to try to put in their own little spice and flavor, and which is
Hallelujah Nights Fall
yeah,
Festival.
yeah, it's super
Trunk or
super
treat.
great. Yeah, but I think so if I'm the leader and I'm giving that direction to, the team that is going to create all this content for me, I need to look at them and say, okay, listen, I don't, whether maybe I don't have preference. Say I don't have preference on what it looks like, right? Let's just say, here's what's important. I need you to make sure that you communicate that it's at this place, at this time, and these are the things that we're going to offer. These three points. I don't need a paragraph. You don't need to put, every single little detail of what's happening. You just need to give them 3 points that they can hit real hard with their graphic, with the design, and then they could do with their words as well. And when you give them clear direction and help them really understand where you're headed and where you're going, I think you're more likely to see success on both sides, because they're going to bring something back to you with exactly what you asked for. But if you just give them like a vague,
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking, I'm not 100% sure, when you don't know what you're talking about, and you just let them go free. Hey, stop that, Siri. When you don't give them that clear direction, you just let them freely go, what's going to happen? They're going to come back with something that they're super
Yep.
proud of, and it's not going to be anything that you asked for, because you didn't really give them direction and vision and where you're headed. And
You,
so
you, you know what I love? I love what you said earlier. You really focused on like the relationship side, I've like, and I think when you focus on building relationships with your team, with people, and then you talk about like what each other needs, as far as like, okay, how can I serve you better? How can you serve me better? What I've realized is that like what kind of happened with me is I started realizing like, okay, like there was a process built out where it's like, okay, what can I use? Like, does this designer, do they do better with like, I need to show them like exactly what, like,
mhm.
I want to look like this, or here's 3 things, or here's a Pinterest board or whatever. And so I started learning how to better communicate with whoever's designing, and that way it made it a lot easier. So like for me, like with camp, we would do everything from you got videos to like hospitality and decor. And so what we started doing is creating a process of where we dream, where we discuss, and then where we decide, so we could all throw in our creative ideas, and that way I could give a little bit of direction, but I'm not the one that's going to make it happen. But then like I knew from that kind of settling point, like I knew that like after that everything was going to be good.
Yeah.
So I love that relationship, that relationship point. I think it's such a huge aspect of the creative side. Um, Let me now talk about on the other side. Talk to creatives. Like, I feel like in the creative world, and even the church world, it's always like this, like a creative team, and there's like stereotypes of like, the youth pastor's always the one putting holes in the wall, and the kids pastor's always doing, cheesy stuff. But talk to the creatives, maybe that designer, that video, like how can they serve and work better with their leader, their pastor, even if this, like you said, someone, maybe you've got your own design media company.
Yeah. That's so, I think the best thing you could ever do as a designer, or maybe you work in video, the best thing you could ever do is work with businesses who um, have no buy-in with, you know what I'm saying? Besides that, they're paying
Yeah.
you, because the thing is that your preference and what you desire, and I think the biggest thing is preference. We all have our own preference, right? Like I have certain colors I like. As you can tell, I
Yep.
like black and Adidas, right? That's like my thing. But that's not everybody's thing. Like I can't force my needs and what my wants are, my preferences are on whoever I'm working for just because that's what I do best, right? I have to look at them and say I'm talking to the youth pastor and he wants me to create their summer graphic. The best thing that I could ever do is just sit down with him, maybe over lunch or whatever it takes, and just have a conversation with him and get a full understanding of what his heart and his vision is, and completely throw away my vision and my preferences in that moment.
Yeah.
I think it's important to stay true to yourself in a way, but you can't let being true to yourself and your preferences and what you desire overpower what you're doing for the client, right? For me, I have to treat everyone like they're a client. I can't look at my senior pastor and treat him like my boss. I have to treat him like my client. Because if I just treat him like my boss, then he's just going to give me orders and he's going to tell me what to do, and we're going to have this battle back and forth. Where if I treat him like a client, I'm going to treat him like gold because he's paying me, and I'm going to look at him and go, okay, where are we going? Where are we headed? What direction? Here's some ideas. What do you think? And then open communication. Once I have a draft done, sending it in and saying, hey, I have this draft done. What do you think about this? It looks, here's, just that constant communication back and forth with whoever you're working for is the most important thing that you can do, because it will allow you to open up the door, when you have that open communication and you don't look at yourself like you're the bee's knees. You're not the best thing in the world. Unfortunately, you're not. There's always someone better than you.
I love that. And I think that's such a, I think it's a good perspective, because I remember I would even tell some of our creative, like, listen, you are the creative. I don't know what I'm doing. So look at this as I am a business and I am needing your services to make this video. I'm entrusting you as a professional to figure this out, because I don't know. I want to pull up this question from our good friend Tony. It says, how do you handle the creativity battle of different generations? Meaning, as stuff evolves, creative from a previous generation will not like the newer creative culture is going, and then there could be tensions between creatives from different eras. I think it makes sense. Does it make sense?
Yeah, for sure. The battle between two generations, because you have one generation that sees it a certain way, and the new generation that's really trying to do new and impressive things, right? And so I think that the way to handle that is, there's two things. If you're working somewhere, there is. Did you see my daughter in the back there?
It's so funny. My God.
If you're working with a church and you're a staff member at that church and you're not buying into that vision and you can't get on board with where they're at and where they're going, because you have your preference, once again, your preference, you're going to have a really hard time really figuring out who you are and what you're trying to do, because the purpose isn't necessarily it's not necessarily a battle of it's not a battle between you and the person you're working for. It's a battle within yourself. There's things that I do for different clients that just don't make sense. There's things that I do for clients that in my mind I'm like, this is so lame, I don't like it at all. But the fact of the matter is that it's not my vision, it's their vision. And that's where, I mean, obviously if you're in a church, you need to be somewhere that you're sold out to the vision. When you're doing it for clients because they're paying you and it's your job, you just need to buck up and make it happen, because that's what they do, and find your other outlet to make yourself happy, And so that two generations, I mean, no matter how much time goes by, we always get into a place where you're going to have two generations battling each other, because one has a preference, and you have to choose where you're going to stand. Are you going to work with them, or are you going to work against them? It's as easy as that.
Yeah, and I think it would come down to even what is the difference? Like, is it something fundamental? Like, like where there's like legitimate, like, hey, this is just not a good design because facts, or is it just because like I don't like the way this looks? Like, if it's not for me, if it's not hurting or causing, there's not like something attached where this is not going to be effective because I don't know, like, hey, this video's too long, so it won't work for this. It needs to be, does that make sense what I'm trying to say? I think sometimes it's
Yeah,
like,
I think
like, is it look, or is it actually like, no, this is just not like not effective?
yeah, I think that it's definitely, so it kind of sounds like there's a branding issue, and so if a lot of churches or businesses that you work with, their branding might suck. And that's just the way it is. It's not great. And I've worked with plenty of clients who I'm looking at their branding going, oh my gosh, this is a headache. How do I make this work? And there's always a way to make it work. There's always a way to take their branding and make it work. And I suggest, hey, your branding is a little, I always just say, hey, your branding's a little outdated. I just did that with a client. Your branding's a little outdated. I would love to help you get it up to par with where we're at today in our world. And I'm not going to take offense if they say no. I'm going to say, if they say no, then I go, all right, great. That's, it's up to you, not me. It's your vision. It's your business, not mine. But I wanted to be able to make it available to you.
Yeah.
But
Got to pick those battles. Got to
you
pick
got to
those
pick your
battles.
exactly.
What battles do you want to pick, and what battles do you want to fight? Let's talk about team health. Let's talk about, what is it? What do you feel like practically? If you're talking to someone, you're talking to me, it's like, hey, I want to build, I want to cultivate, I want to have a healthy creative team, but maybe even just healthy, like, you want your team across the board to be creative and to cultivate that, even within people. Because I even have a thought. It's like, I have the next question is like, how do you pull that creativity out of people? But answer the first one first. So what is practically, what for you, what are you looking for? What are you trying to protect and create in cultivating that healthy creative culture in a church or a team?
Yeah. I think number one, it's an easy answer when it comes to having a healthy creative culture, especially with your teams. The number one thing you need to remember is that your people are people. They have needs and desires, and they want to be seen, right? They want
Yeah.
to they want to feel like you love them above everything else. They do work for you. They create things. They're on your team. They serve on your team. Whatever it is, above all of that, every single one of them just wants to be loved. And
Yeah.
we as leaders tend to forget that they're normal people who live normal lives and they have their desires, and we're so focused on getting the job done that we so often forget that the people just need to be seen. They need to be heard. They need to be loved. And so the easiest thing you can do is just, hey, why don't you take time out of every single day and call a few people on your list and ask nothing of them. Don't ask them for one thing. Just say, how you doing?
That's
How
good.
can I pray
That's
for you?
good.
What can I do for you? And then write these things down, because if you're anything like me, you got to write things down or else you forget it. But if you write it down and say, oh, Susie, her son is having a really hard time in school, or Charlie, his son is in the hospital for this. Write those things down and then follow up and call. And it's extra work for you, but that's the whole entire purpose of being a leader. You got to be somebody who's in their life and actually cares for them. And when I'm telling you, like, the moment you start doing that, if you're not doing it already, the moment you start doing that and you start taking time out of your day every single day to just check on your people and see how they're doing, I'm telling you right now, the culture shifts immediately, because people are going to feel loved by you, and they're going to they'll go off the ends of the earth for you because you took a little bit of time just to see how they're doing and be in their life. And that's it. That's the first. If you're not doing anything else, just do that, and that'll change the entire culture of your life.
I love it. That's so good. And it's, I think sometimes I think we can tend to overcomplicate things, and I love. I think that's such a huge part of any healthy team. On to my next question: how do you like, and maybe even for something that you can do as a creator, like even for me, how can I pull maybe the creative potential, or maybe even kind of challenge people's creativity to get them to go to a different level? Like, what does that look like? Is there anything that there maybe some practical to dos, like with people, or maybe even like young leaders? Like, how do you just pull that out of them?
Yeah. I think that, so there's people who are like, hey, I'm a painter, that's what I do, or hey, I'm a graphic designer, that's what I do. We tend to put ourselves in a box a lot of times,
Yeah.
and or hey, I'm not a creative, I don't really do that. So many people put themselves in a box that it allows them to stay stuck with where they're at, right? And so it's so
Mm-hmm.
important that we as a people push each other to try new things. And so for instance, for myself, I'm a decent graphic designer. I'm a decent videographer. I'm a decent photographer. I say I'm decent at all these things because I could always grow, right? And
Yeah.
but I will never grow if I never practice those things. First of all, I got to practice, put that stuff out there, try new things, even if it doesn't feel right, doesn't look good. I can't be afraid of failing. And then the second thing is you have to be willing to try new things. Like right now, I just got a brand new iPad and I'm so excited about it. And so I made a declaration to myself that I'm just going to start drawing. I'm not the best drawer in the world. I can draw a little bit and I'm okay. And I could definitely be much better, but it's probably my weakest talent that I have, right?
Yeah.
And so right now I'm taking time and I'm just pushing myself, and it has nothing to do with any work or anything. I'll just
Yeah.
sit on the couch late at night watching a TV show and just draw and just try to come up with something that pushes my mind to the next level, because I'm having to think a little differently when I take a pen and a pencil, or when I do it on the iPad. I have to think a little differently from when I would do it on the computer or when I would make a video. Like my mind has to open up in new ways. And so if you're a leader or if you're a creative, like I would encourage you to be somebody who pushes yourself to do things that are out of your comfort zone and that allow you to fail. Like
Yeah.
I fail in what I do a lot of times, and I'm okay with that because I learn from those failures.
Yeah. Yeah, I've really been getting into my creative element, and just me and my daughter have just been finger painting, and just really getting the macaronis and stuff like that. So that's kind of oh my gosh. I think it's about time that might need to have a a Josh and Julian draw off contest, and see who can get the iPads out and get some overhead cameras, and like see. I feel like that's coming up soon. Then we'll have a little draw off.
Yeah, I think I think I'm undefeated right now from those last ones we did. I don't think I lost one competition yet.
I don't remember that. I don't know if I believe you. I think
Well, you don't
your
remember
memory
launching
is off.
Stop That Church graphics?
I remember, but I just don't. I'm like, I think my creativity of like being funny was pretty won a couple of those. Um, well, hey, as we kind of wrap up, I want you to kind of end this conversation with maybe some encouragement. Maybe it's something that maybe it's something to do with the topic. Maybe it's something that you've been kind of going through, and God's been working through you. But I always like to end with with just some life personal encouragement, because I want people to be. I want people to feel good after these conversations, and I think there's so much value in relationships. And I'm just honestly, for me, I've been so grateful for friends like you who can you know come to can come to the when I get knocked down, can come pick me up, and kind of cry a little bit with me, but then on the same time that when we win and we succeed and there's good days, that we can like actually brag to each other and not like be jealous or envious, that we can actually go, that's stinking awesome. And so I just I think that's just such a huge part, and I think the more people need to have those types of friends relationships. So just kind of end this as we kind of wrap up. Like, what would you want to say, kind of with the ending encouragement here?
Man, I think that one of the most important things as an individual is to always celebrate people. That's probably one of the hardest things to do, is to celebrate other people and their success and their wins and everything that God is doing in their life, you know. And for me, for instance, when I started worship and creative, it started for me. Like, I started it for an outlet for me to create and put it on Instagram and post it and just kind of grow in that area, right? And then the Lord told me, Julian, I want you to turn this into a community-based thing where you can encourage other creatives to keep creating and to not give up on their dreams and their what they've done. And so for the past 2 years, I've been reposting artists who are excited to see that someone noticed them, to help them understand that they're worth it, that their work is good. And so for me, it's been the most exhilarating thing, championing other people as a creative, because I love creating things. I love coming up with ideas, and I love being the guy, you know, like I love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I love it with all my heart. But what I love more is championing people. And so if you're a leader, if you're a graphic designer, if you're in any aspect of leadership whatsoever, man, let me encourage you. Be somebody who can encourage others and push them forward to the direction that God has given them. And the more you do that, the more God's going to propel you to the next level. I really believe that. And everything that I've done in my life, when it comes to my desires and my creation and everything, was super great. But the most gratifying and the most satisfying thing I've ever done was encouraging and loving on others. Nothing satisfies me more, and nothing is more fulfilling than that. And when I see someone else successful, man, it takes it. Honestly, sometimes it's really hard to celebrate other people's success. It's really, really hard. Sometimes I'm like, frick, like, I've been working my entire life so hard. And why didn't I get that? But then the Lord always convicts me and says, Julian, that's not yours to have. What I have for you is so much greater for you. But you have to be willing to give up your desires and what you want, and just allow me to work in your life. And I was literally in tears yesterday because my wife said something to me because I was frustrated about something. And she said, Julian, the Lord is in the other room with that gift that you have, and he's working on it. And you just need to sit out here and wait for him to be done. And when he launches you with that gift, he's going to take you to the next level. But if you try to hold on to it and do it with him, you're going to waste your time. So just give it up and just champion other people and trust the Lord. And when you do that, I really believe that God will take you to the next level in your gifts, in your relationships with other people, in your leadership. Just champion people, man. Like, there's nothing more important.
I think that's probably one of I still kind of remember the first conversation that we had, and I can say that, you know, we haven't known each other for a long time, but even in the short time that we've become friends, that has been like so evident. And I think that's such a big part of who you are. And honestly, I think that's honestly what I've loved even about the creative culture within the church. I think there's a really strong community. And it's honestly been encouraging to me to get on this. I'm a non-graphic, you know, video person, and to see other creatives and people championing each other. And I really feel like you've been such a huge part of that within the church world and the creative world. And I think it's really has been so encouraging. And I think I think God's just going to continue to bless you and do big things. I'm just honored and excited to call you a friend and be a part of what you're doing and have you helping us walk this journey and what Free Church Media is, and we, you know, what you've been scheming up and dreaming up, and what you know, some cool things in 2021 are going to happen. So make sure you go and follow Worship Creative, and give Julian a follow, and check out, you know, if you need any marketing needs, he's the guy. He can figure it out. He can help you. and he's a wealth of knowledge. And between him and if he didn't know how to do it, he probably knows someone that can.
Yeah.
So make sure and hit him up, email him, reach out on Instagram. He's accessible. He answers. I'm pretty sure we just like, I forget how we even met, but it was like, I'm pretty sure we DM'd and then like we were on the phone the next day. So he's a great guy. And I want to say, honestly, I really am thankful for you and everything that you've done, and I'm humbled, and you've been an encouragement to me, and just honestly seeing you walk through this season has been so cool, and I think it's just going to get better, and I look forward to seeing what God does through you, and in dreaming as we dream for next year, and I appreciate you for being on, and I'm excited for the season. I can't wait to see all the Hallelujah Night Fall Festival graphics and the boo bashes and the trunk or treats. Oh man, trunk or treats. Nothing like doing a church event that basically promotes what we tell our kids don't do. Don't go to strangers' cars and get candy out of their trunks.
Yeah. So true.
Anyways, hey man, I love you. Thanks for joining us today. It was hopefully you enjoyed the conversation, and man, so many great points, and I'm so thankful for Julian. Again, make sure that you like and share. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in. I want to say thank you for everyone for watching, for supporting, for sharing, because when you're sharing, more churches and more leaders and more pastors are finding out about Free Church Media, and our heart is to provide the resources, the content, the media to help churches reach more people for the cause of Christ, to build churches, to spread the good news of Jesus. And that's what we're doing this for. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for giving. Thank you for all those that have given financially. If you want to do that, you can go to our website at freechurchmedia.com and support what we're doing and all that we're going to do. We've got some great things coming up in the future. We got another show, I think, this week on Friday. I'm not even going to let you know what it is yet, but we're going to drop a link here in a second. We're going to be doubling up the next couple weeks, and we got some great people coming up on the church conversations. But that's it for now. We love you. Have an amazing week, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.